So, Mr. Moore, racing has been a part of your life for ever. What are you doing nowadays?
Um, Still hanging around with race car people, going to some races once in a while. I went down to Seekonk a few weeks ago for the Boston Louis 29. It's a guy I used to drive for, and he passed away from cancer. His sons run this Boston Louis number 29 race. It's 29 lap midget race. And I go down there. I'm going over to Loudon a couple of weeks for the Cup race, but mainly for the modified race, because that's supposedly the best race.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen it before, so.
All right. So, over your years of racing, how many different styles of race cars have you raced?
Just about everything on 4 wheels, and now on 2 wheels. I still race motorcycles in the vintage motorcycle race at Loudon, and I'm going to do some Daytona tank shift, stuff like that. But I've run Indy cars to TQ midgets up to Indy cars. And stock cars and modifieds and supers and sprint cars, silver crown cars, everything, just about.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a career.
What was your favorite car or motorcycle or any vehicle in general? What was your favorite to drive?
I actually loved them all. And people ask me the same thing about which track do you like best. And every track has got its challenges for every person there. Some tracks, like you race your legend cars, some tracks you adjust to it better than other tracks, so you kind of fond of them. Oswego was one of my sort of home tracks that I went quite well at. But I also had a lot of other tracks that I went well at, and so the cars and things, I mean, there were a lot of super modified cars that I loved racing for different team owners. I've probably driven for 20 or 30 different car owners, and almost every one of them was a very good race car. After I got my name out there, that people saw I was driving fairly well, and they wanted to give me an opportunity to drive their car, or they wanted me to drive their car because they thought maybe I'd make it go better than the other driver would. But lots of times that doesn't happen. Usually the car, you get out about what the car has, like, you know.
Have you ever raced Dr. Berger?
I don't think I ever have raced with him. I don't think I've heard about his racing at mostly at Beach Ridge, and he was very, very good there in sprint cars. Mm-hmm. And they were like a super modified, I think, or something like that. But he won quite a few races there. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I ever raced with him. Mm-hmm. I've been at races where he's been there, attending the races as a sports writer and stuff like that, and not racing with me, I don't think.
Compared to today's cars, how different were the super modifieds in your days?
The early super modifieds were quite crude compared to what they are now. I mean, you probably look at some of the cars out in the museum, and I can show you 2 of them, and you can even take a picture of them when we're back out there. But Bill Murphy's car was a 1961 or 2 race car that Ray Harmony built for Tony Delmeter, and Bill Murphy drove it, who was a very good driver. And then you look at that, and then you look at the car I drove in 1985 for Mike Mazur, and Brian Elbresso was the crew chief on it. And you look at the difference, it's unbelievable. It's night and day. The safety features are so much better. The suspension, just everything is so advanced compared to what they were. It's really pretty neat.
Okay. What is it like knowing so many up-and-coming drivers, or super modified drivers, look up to you?
It's an honor, but I love to see them go well too. I love to see anybody young, like your age, going well. I just went to the midget race, and I saw, I think it's Ryan Lott, doing very, very well in the midget, and he just won a midget race, I think, the week before at Star Speedway. I think he's 15 or 16, probably close to your age. Then there's a guy right here in Maine, Wayne Tarback, and his grandson's running, and he's only 14. He's running late models at Wiscasset and Beach Ridge and places like that. And he's ran in the smaller cars, the little modifieds, little 4-cylinder modifieds, I think they are.
Okay.
And going well. It's just fun to see people like you guys in racing and doing well. And it's an inspiration to me to see people doing that instead of what a lot of kids are just playing with a video game on a computer, and they don't care about racing anymore. And that's what's fortunate about that Northeast Motorsports Museum that Dick built. It's hopefully going to entice some younger kids to want to race instead of just sitting there with a computer or whatever they might want to do instead, just to do that. Because I think racing was so beneficial for me. I mean, it made my whole life. Everything I got in business and everything else came from racing.
What was it like to drive an IndyCar, and how was it comparing to the car you were driving before that?
I was driving supers and modifieds before that. And I remember when I raced well, I don't even think it was Star Speedway, I think it was Pine Speedway and Hudson and supers and stock cars, and then I went to Oswego, and Oswego was a 5/8 mile track, which was very fast and intimidating. I walked across the track and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe how long the straightaways are and the steel walls inside and out. And I heard the cars in practice before we got there as we were waiting in line going by, and it was like an echo chamber because of the walls and stuff. And I was intimidated as could be to even walk across the track. I looked to the left and it looked like a long quarter mile. I looked to the right, and the first turn was down forever. And he's like, oh my God, you can't even see the first turn. You're gonna fly here. It was definitely intimidating. But then when I went to Indy from Oswego, had a lot of similarities because it was also, 3 times longer than Oswego was, or 4 times. So, it was definitely intimidating first, and you're so under so much pressure to try to qualify and try to do the right things. You go through a rookie's test and you have to go, I think, maybe 110 miles an hour, then 130, then 140, and then anything that you're comfortable with. You have to do 10 lap segments. And I believe the last one, they have 4 or 6 drivers, veteran drivers watching you, plus all the cornermen, all the USAC guys. So you're trying to be careful, but you got to go fast enough to impress them that, you can drive the car. It's just like any other learning experience for any kind of race car person.
What advice would you give to up-and-coming drivers that want to make it to the top tier of the sport?
Put your nose to the grindstone, do as well as you can, be very personable off the track and on the track. Don't be a dirty driver. Don't use your bumper if you have to use it. The bumper's there to absorb something, but it's not there. In my mind, I see a lot of drivers use these, especially in the Cup cars, NASCAR Cup cars. They use them, and to me, that's not racing the style that I like to see racing. I love to see wheel-to-wheel racing, hundredths of an inch away, but not touching them. If you do touch, it was a mistake, but don't touch in a way that you're going to dump the other guy or dump yourself and hurt somebody or wreck a bunch of equipment. And just go as fast as you can, as well as you can, and keep the car under control. And I always tell younger drivers, don't try to go into the corner so deep that you scare yourself. Go into the corner deep enough to keep up with the traffic, but use your throttle coming out, because you're going to get more. Your speed is with your right foot. When you're on the throttle, and you can stay on the throttle, that's where your speed comes, and that's where your time comes from.
Right.
It doesn't come by driving into the corner like a crazy man. When you're driving into the corner like a crazy man, that's when you're trying to pass a car, and you can do that without, if you're going on the inside, don't wash up and hit them. And if you're going on the outside, if you wash up, you say, oh shoot, I went in too deep, I gotta go a little easier. And I'm sure you've learned that with your legend cars and watching other races.
Definitely. Well, it's been an absolute honor talking to you today, Mr. Warren.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope this little interview goes out and helps you in other races, future races, because that's sort of what I think you're trying to do. And it's awesome that you're doing it. It's going to help people.
Thank you very much.